I'm Mel Stewart, and this is the SwimSwam podcast. Joining me today, we've got a very special guest. This is the CEO podcast. Today, we've got Chief Executive Officer and founder of A3 Performance. This is a top flight swimwear company, among other things. And I always love doing Chief Executive podcasts. Dan, thanks for being here.
Mel, it's an honor to be with you.
This episode of the SwimSwam podcast is sponsored by Commit Swimming, SwimSwam's exclusive team management software partner. Since 2015, Commit has been providing coaches with swimming's leading workout management software. And now, Commit has team management software too. Commit wants to help you make the switch from Team Unify to a simpler, more powerful solution. Their onboarding and customer service team will walk you through every step of the way. Check them out at commitswimming.com to book your demo today. That's COMMIT swimming.com.
We've been partners forever. We SwimSwam, full disclosure, SwimSwam and A3 have been in partnership forever. And it's one of those great partnerships that is collaborative and creative. And part of the reason why I like it is because, there's a lot of companies that have admin and leadership and they don't have swimming roots. They're in it because the swimming demographic is a strong demographic. It can reward you if you run a great business, but you have deep roots in the sport. Tell us the Dan Meinholz swimming story. Give us the genesis.
Yeah, started swimming at a very young age, right? So I was the youngest of 8 and everybody went to the pool. So that's kind of how I got in the water and learned how to swim and, certainly had ups and downs, but loved the sport and the culture and really everything about it. Engaged in other sports as I grew up, but really was passionate about swimming and was fortunate enough to swim at a fairly high level. Won junior nationals, got myself a nice scholarship to go to the University of Wisconsin. And then at that point ended up experiencing some injuries, had some surgeries, and ended up having to leave the sport long before I anticipated. So obviously I had aspirations and goals of doing something significant, representing our country one day, and fell short of that. But shortly after that, I was asked to be on the pool deck and really kind of took to coaching, enjoyed that very much. And, it was interesting because when I got out of school, I tried a bunch of other careers and none of them were very fulfilling to me. But when we started to get back on the pool deck, I really felt like I was home and it was something that I could immerse myself in, sink my teeth into and really get after. So, married a swimmer, all 4 kids were swimmers, and both of my girls swam at the University of Wisconsin, as did my wife. And that's who we are. It's very much part of our family, our life. It's our it's pretty much everything we do outside of our children is focused on growing a brand and being involved in the sport in every way that we can.
I love that. That was that's about as deep roots as you can possibly get in swimming. I can't call my wife, my daughter swam until she was 13 and then she was out.
Yeah.
And I had to explain to my non-swimming wife that's like, no, it's prison if you don't love it. Those are unique families and disciplined that can fully do it. Now this wouldn't be a SwimSwam podcast, and our listeners would be mad at me, and I should know this already. Junior nationals. What did you swim?
100 and 200 backstroke. Was in San Jose, California. I was 16 years old and had a good meet to qualify to get there. And then it's one of those things where when you swim in your state and you swim regionally, you kind of know who the other players are. And then this is really the first time you step on a national stage where you don't really know anybody in your prelim heat. Which I kind of like, but also gives you a little bit of an uneasy feeling. It's one of those scenarios where if you could go back and talk to your 16-year-old self, you'd have some good advice to be able to give. But it was a great meet for me. I mean, I swam the 200 IM there as well, and lifetime best in all my events. And yeah, just had a tremendous meet, and it was a great kind of launching for me, where I started to see the national picture as more my picture, and instead of the state and regional. I started to see myself on the national stage. I started to look at what the college swimmers were doing in the Big Ten and at NC2As, and started to see myself in that position as well.
Well, date yourself. You got to date yourself on this for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Year.
So it was it was 1982. Was junior nationals, and yeah, graduated from high school in '84. So the stretch up to that was the ups and downs, like I mentioned before. You know, real good age grouper. Had a year or two where I just didn't necessarily feel like making the commitment. That's why I always tell parents, if you can just get your kids to high school, you know, everything will start to change for them. Once you start to get bigger and stronger, you know, as a young boy, things started happening. And I was with a great age group coach that really helped me develop and provided the confidence when I didn't have it, and really helped me launch to the next level.
Well, I have to ask this because you said it, you had an injury. I don't need the memoir, but this is something common in swimming. People have injuries, and some people come back from them, some people don't. What happened?
Yeah, so first of all, I had both of my knees. I had arthroscopic surgery on both of my knees, just from some of the training that we were doing, a lot of the running, kicking with big fins. We overtrained back then quite a bit. Today's a little bit different. Actually, it's a lot different. In coming back from that knee injury, I ended up having an issue with my shoulder that had to be operated on. So the AC joint was trimmed back. And then I really couldn't train at the level that the college required for me to train at in order for me to continue. And backstroke was a thing of the past at that point. So if I wanted to, I would have had to segue into freestyle, which would have been okay. But the way I looked at it was I was our top backstroker, and I knew that there were other good backstrokers that wanted to go to Wisconsin. So at that point, I took a medical scholarship, which was of great benefit to me because it helped me continue and finish my collegiate studies for free. Didn't have to pay for that. And then they brought in a backstroker who was really good, and filled the gap, so to speak.
For anybody that young that listens to the podcast, the 1980s the 70s and 80s were grinding decades. This was, you're doing as much as you possibly can. And you're right, if one thing goes wrong, something else goes wrong.
Right.
Because you're leaning into another area. All right. That's a vulnerable testimonial, but it's something that we do hear a lot from our generation.
Right.
You coached, and my wife is like, why aren't you coaching? Why wouldn't you coach? And I'll give you my take on that. It would be difficult for me to be so emotionally invested after being invested for most of my career, to be invested in swimming and coaching. And I also have a lot of respect. I think it's a big sacrifice. You're giving up weekends, you're giving up dinners. That wasn't the life I wanted to lead. But you know, if you did coach for a moment, why didn't you continue?
Yeah, I started coaching on the college pool deck right away at Wisconsin, and you're absolutely right. First of all, I think coaching is a phenomenal profession. I think being able to work with young people and at the college level, actually at all levels, it's not just about swimming. It's also about the personal development. It's the goal setting. It's picking kids up when they're down. It's motivating them. It's sharing in the excitement. There's so many benefits, but I did like coaching. It was a learning curve for sure, because when you know how to do something, you want to hop in the water and show them. And you really have to make that transition to being able to use words and articulate what it is that you want them to be able to do. And you're right, it is exhausting. I coached high school for 7 years because I had two girls that went through high school. And that was very emotionally taxing because you're invested in every workout, you're invested in every meet and every race. And at the end of the season, you're just absolutely exhausted. So I, take my hat off to the coaches out there that are doing this day in and day out and staying fresh and still being their best and delivering on the pool deck. So it is a challenge, but coaching in general, I think, regardless of the sport, is just such a great profession, but it does come at a cost. And at one point in time, I remember standing on the pool deck saying, I'm coaching a lot of other 13 and 14-year-olds when my 13 and 14-year-olds are at home having dinner and getting ready for bed. And then that was a point at which I felt like I needed to make the decision to be at home and do something else.
Mm. It's a huge commitment. It's a lot. And I hear you.
Yeah.
And we report college coaching or big salaries. We report it when we know club coaches make big salaries. We report it, and when they're big, we celebrate. And when they're low, we're angry because we want the cost basis for people who make this sort of sacrifice to be there. We want the market to support it. But you took a different path. You were entrepreneurial, and you were entrepreneurial early on, starting in 1995. What brought you to the moment where you're like, I'm going to bet on swimming. I'm going to be entrepreneurial here, and it's worth it.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I tried a number of other things, and they were means to support my family, but none of them were fulfilling to me. And I think pursuing a passion is so incredibly important, because if you're good at it, the money will come. And if you're focused on putting in the time, doing the work, and getting where you need to be, the outcome isn't really as important. And for me, my wife and I started our first business in 1995. We were 29 years old, and we had 3 kids at the time. And I had to coerce her a little bit. She did not want to start a business. So I said, okay, fine. I'm going to start a business. Will you come and work with me? And she didn't like that, but she got it, and she jumped on board. And I had a full-time job at the time, and we worked for 2.5 years before I left my full-time job, and jumped in with both feet. And that was a big risk at the time. But we're in a place that we love. I didn't mind working. And at that point in time, when you're entrepreneurial, and you know this as well as anybody, you're betting on yourself. You're saying that whatever it takes, I'm willing to do it. And that's where we were. And we've been that way for almost 30 years. You really are. You're betting on yourself. You're building a team. But at the end of the day, you know that it's going to fall on your shoulders if something falls short. So I was prepared to do that, and I welcome the challenge.
There are fewer people from swimming with the swim background that make it entrepreneurial in swimming. And so it's big feather in your cap. You can count them less than a dozen. What's interesting about you is that you understood, you went into retail, you understood retail. You were always watching the market. You're obviously an intelligent guy. And at a certain point you said, I've got this experience. Now I'm going to launch a brand that is a singular brand that I have to make a part of the swimming ecosystem. And you launched A3 Performance, 2004. Is that correct?
Correct.
What got you to that point, and what was the excitement? Just full disclosure, I wanted to launch a swimwear brand. And to me, it sounds like it's almost like launching a pro swim, like a pro team. I feel like it's that same oxygen.
Yeah, no, it was, for us, that was probably the biggest risk we ever took, because there is no safety net. I think on the previous business that we had started, there was always a safety net. And those were your vendors. And in this world, there is no safety net. So when you build something, it better be good. And especially when you're a new brand, new company, and you're coming in and trying to put a flag in the ground, it better be good. You have to deliver. You have to make sure you have the product, you're delivering it on time, you're doing it with the highest level of service that you possibly can. I think one of the impetus for us was when we saw what was happening in the market, when the internet became this massive e-commerce engine. And I kind of saw the business that we were in. I said, I just don't think that that the world is going to be long for us out of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. We weren't really interested in moving because that's where our kids were in school and we like where we live. So at that point, I just said, we'll make it happen wherever we are. And we may have to travel a little bit more, may have to work a little bit harder. But yeah, that was a big one for us. But I'm glad that we made that choice. We have invested in it as a family. I mean, even my kids love to wear A3 wherever they go and feel good about the story. So yeah, that has been the greatest risk that we've ever taken. But it's been good. And like I said, when you bet on yourself, I really do like being in control of a lot of those things, even though I know we have a limited amount of control in general, but I do like being in control of the development of products, what we're bringing into the market, how we're bringing it into the market, who we're working with. So that's been something that's, I scratch my head sometimes and say, did you do this? Did you really do this? And why did you do this? And grateful for where we are today.
I tried to convince my wife to launch a swimwear brand. That was on the table, and I lost that argument, and I did not move forward with that argument. But we did launch SwimSwam, and so I just want to say you have more influence and more gumption, and so you win the gold medal there.
Well, yeah, I didn't get a lot of pushback. I did get a, do you really know what you're doing? I did get a little bit of that up front. And, I said, no, I don't, but I believe that we can do this and I believe that we can be successful with it. And we just did what we were able to do and then backed it up with a lot of hard work. We knew that we couldn't be anybody else, so we never pretended to be. Do we keep an eye on what's going on in the market? We do, but at the end of the day, I have a lot of ideas that I would like to pursue. We pursue maybe 10% of them. So it's important for us to really pick what those avenues are, those products, those initiatives. And then once you're in, you go.
And coming in and launching a brand like yours, you are a disruptor. You're coming into the market. Commercial market is bumpy place.
Yeah.
It's I think you pride yourself on that, don't you?
Well, yeah. So I think what we had seen prior was you would have a leader setting the stage and everybody followed. And when we came in with our previous experience as a dealer, we just said, listen, we know how this industry works. We didn't really know how the brand worked that well at that point, but we know how the industry worked. We're going to do things our way. And we think our way is going to be better for the club. It's going to be better for the college. It's going to be better for the high school program. So because of that, we just pursued it. And along the way, we would pick our heads up every once in a while, look around and say, are we off the mark or are we doing it the right way? But we continue to have growth. The last couple of years, virtually most of our growth has come off of referrals, which I'm really proud of. I'm not proud that you still have a marketing effort and you still have a marketing spend and you're working on that for sure. But we're having coaches that are calling us saying, listen, I spoke with so-and-so on the pool deck. They said we should be working with you. So that is a huge compliment to me personally. I take it that way. And it's been great for us. So, every coach or every program is looking for something a little bit different. But at the end of the day, I think that people want to swim in world-class products and they want to be important. It really comes down to those two things. And I think that we do that as well or better than anybody in the world. And that is our focus on a daily basis. It truly is.
You care deeply about the quality of your products and innovation, but you said something that most people might not pick up on, which is that they want to feel important, which is basically saying, we're going to service you. You are important. You matter greatly to me. And yes, everyone's important. I was about to ask you, hey, what's the difference if I'm going with a brand that everybody is known for, 30, 40, 50, 100 years. And,
Yep.
and you guys have been around since 2004. Why should I work with A3? What does that look like?
Yeah, and ultimately, and we've been asked that a couple of times. When I was in India, I was asked that question was put on the table, and a number of other programs that we worked with have just said, why, what makes you different? And I think everybody has some brand consciousness or some brand allegiance. We wear a certain pair of sunglasses or shoes or drive a certain car, whatever the case is. So we believe in brands, and that those brands have done a good job of fostering that belief. For us, we're a quality brand, we're a solid brand. We know that our products are as good as anybody worldwide. So, ultimately, you're looking for great products, have it, but you're looking to be important. You want to be special to somebody. And actually, one of our challenges, and we just spoke about this in a meeting last week, is maintaining that high level of service as the company grows. We put a handwritten note in virtually every box that leaves our building because we want that individual to know that they matter, right? That we care, that we appreciate them, and that will never go away because you're not talking about a massive corporation. You're talking about a group of people who realize that when that order comes in, it's important. That's our lifeblood. So we want our customer base to know that. And again, whether it's a college program, whether it's a swimming federation, you want to be important. And we have people here who are great at it. Some situations it's me that has that direct relationships that handles it. But we have an exceptional team here that's very good in getting that across.
Pioneering achievements. I'm going through and I'm looking at a list that's written down right here, and it's like, to me, it comes down to compression styles, and it's that seems like top of mind for every athlete that's in the pool right now. Talk to me about a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we are actually the first brand to make a closed back suit, and we've done a number of different innovations. We've produced a number of innovations into the sport. And we've always been focused on building the fastest surface in the world. So we would go and do this testing with Dr. G at the Olympic Training Center. And it was about, first of all, we wanted to know that we were truly a player, right? That we were building a product that was equal. And the first time we went to the Olympic Training Center, we were kind of amazed that we had 3 products that performed better than anybody else's in a fluid dynamic setting. So that was very exciting for us. So now I know that we're in the ballpark. That's been such a focus for us for the last 10 years. What I've really started to do after talking to hundreds and hundreds of athletes, what I've really started to focus on more was, how does your body feel? Because ultimately there's this mind-body connection that's undeniable, that when you put on your tech suit and you prepare, you're in the locker room and you're preparing yourself, whether you're quiet or you're chatting with your buddies, when you're preparing and you put that suit on, there's something that clicks. And that really doesn't have to do with how fast the surface is. It has to do with how it feels on your body. So like never before, the last 6 months for us, our next development, which is already World Aquatics approved, which will be coming out in 2025, we're hyper focused on that. How does this feel when it's on your body? Is it providing the right compression in the right places? Is it giving you full range of motion? But how do you feel in it? And the challenge there is you want to have your NC2A champion wearing that suit and feeling phenomenal in it. You also want to have that club swimmer who may be swimming at the state championship or regional or junior nationals. You want them to have the same experience. So the feeling of the compression, range of motion is incredibly important for us as well.
It is. The interesting thing about it's usually top line. You're talking tech suits. It's like you're building faith all the time. It really is. It is a unique. It's part of the reason why I wanted to go into that business, because I think I made the analogy of like, it's sort of like having a professional team.
Right.
The brand is just it really is. You're building a Ferrari, and that, I don't know, that has to be fun. That it sounds like it's something that you get excited about getting up in the morning to go pursue.
Yeah, I mean, it's when I was talking earlier about how when we started the brand, we just stayed focused on what we wanted to accomplish, and we do that very much now. We've done that with tech suits. It's let's do something a little bit different. Let's do a closed back. Let's do zone compressioning. So the way the suit is built, we don't just put seams where we want to hold the suit together. We're actually putting seams in the suit so it actually helps the muscle elongate and contract. We're focused on what we can do to help the swimmer swim better and ultimately faster. Compression is a big part of that. The speed of the surface is a big part. Water repellency. There's a lot of things that go into it. There's a lot of testing that goes into it. And when you compare brands, typically, you're going to be compared by your elite level. I mean, everybody has a snorkel, and we have ours for a specific reason. We have paddles for a specific reason. Very conscientious of what we do and why we do it. And again, it's to help you swim better and ultimately swim faster. But when you're being compared to other brands, it's typically going to be your elite racing suit. So for us, it's now that I don't want to say we've mastered the surface, how fast it can move through the water, because at the end of the day, it's a swimming suit, right? So it's going to come down to that athlete, and how can we have more impact on that athlete than them putting something on and saying, man, this feels amazing, or getting in the water and saying, I feel fantastic when I'm in the water wearing the suit. So now the focus is how can we do that? And I think we're there.
I'm not trying to crowd your market, but I'm going to ask the question this way. There's things that, at SwimSwam, and people probably say, hey, SwimSwam makes their money doing X. And we make money doing X, Y, and Z. And you might not know about Z, but Z is good for us.
Right.
In your industry, people do judge you by the top line, that top product, that tech suit. But where do you build the business? Is there, what other SKUs are there that are like, hey, this is consequential to our DNA, and this keeps us, this builds cells and builds oxygen, and it's a great product.
Yeah, actually, I appreciate you asking that. I mean, we do a lot of swim school business, and first of all, we want to support Learn to Swim, and we do that at the highest level that we're able to. We have really good products, really good goggles for little kids, and I think once a little swimmer can see underwater, the world kind of opens up to them. Their confidence goes through the roof, and all of a sudden they're starting to play a little bit more. They're getting a little bit more adventurous, and they're learning how their body moves in the water. So that's incredibly important. But the swim school business has been great for us, and they're great partners. In addition to that, we do focus on clubs, because from clubs branch high schools, and from high schools branch college, and from clubs branch summer league. So the club business for us is really good as well. And it's always interesting to me when kids come into club swimming. I was always very aware of the brands that people were wearing, whether it was goggles or suits or whatever. And we didn't have tech suits back when I was swimming, but now when you go and work with a club program, you're getting kids that are coming into the sport at the age of 10, at the age of 12, and it levels the playing field a little bit for us. People still know who Michael Phelps and Caleb Dressel and Katie Ledecky and Gretchen Walsh. They know these names for sure, and they see them on SwimSwam, right? But for us, there's so many people who are coming into the sport that maybe don't see themselves at that elite level, but they want the benefits that the culture of swimming provides. And they join a program for those health benefits, for those community benefits, for the benefits of the culture in general. So that's why club is important for us as well. But Learn to Swim has been great. And the more we've been involved in there, honestly, the more we've started to invest into the Learn to Swim and drowning prevention.
You start wearing a goggle as a little kid, that goggle becomes an extension of you, that you are loyal to the goggle that you wear when you're a child.
Oh yeah.
And changing that goggle, whew, it's a hard change. If you ever change it, if somebody convinces you to change, there's a lot of uphill crosswinds. I don't know. I get it.
It's probably the most personal product that there is, really.
It is. It's very personal. In terms of just philosophy and if you're going to bottom line, it's like, hey, This is our DNA. This is who we are. And I think about that. It's like, how do you want the market to see you, and how do you work day to day to make that happen?
Yeah. Ultimately, as an individual, I want to have impact. And impact to me is not necessarily a focus on the bottom line. Impact to me is, can we help elevate somebody? Can we mentally, possibly through our products, physically move somebody to a next level? Can we support somebody? Like I said earlier, when every package that leaves here has a handwritten note in it, we try to be as inspirational as we can. We try to be as motivational and supportive as we can, because you never know what words are going to strike somebody. I've given talks before at college programs where I thought my talk wasn't great, and then somebody would come back to me afterwards and kind of praise what I had to say because it made a difference for them. So you never really know what it is that you're going to say, but we want to have impact. I mean, we want to be seen as a leader. We innovate at a pretty high level. And we see some of our innovations show up in our competitors at some point in time down the line, but we want to innovate, lead, and then honestly, we want to inspire people. We want to try to lift if we can and have that impact.
Well, we're still inside 2024 coming off the Paris Olympic Games. And most people don't think in terms of quads, but sometimes we kind of all think in terms of quads.
Yep.
Rolling up on a domestic Olympics. And to us, it feels like, hey, we're going to Los Angeles too. Even if we're going as a fan or a participant or supporter. How do you view the next 4 years for A3? I know you have innovation coming out, new tech
Sure.
2025, but what does it mean for A3?
Yeah, I'm super excited about our next suit. Like I will always say that, I'm very, very happy, very proud of what we're developed. I think that some of the innovations that we put into this suit are going to be first evers, which we are constantly trying to push the envelope in that respect. It's funny because when you come out with a new product, a lot of times there's already ideas that are percolating for the next one, which you may not see for another 3 years. But I like where we're at right now. We're starting to work with some collegiate athletes. We're starting to expand our base nationally. So we're getting more club teams on each coast and in between. We were so close to having athletes on the U.S. Olympic team. We did have athletes in the Olympics, but they weren't on the U.S. team. But we were really, really close, 0.2 of a second from having 2 kids on the team. And I think the way we're aligning ourselves right now, I think that there's a really legit chance for us to be able to have somebody on the team. That's not necessarily what we hang our hat on. That's sort of the frosting, so to speak. If we do everything that we're supposed to be doing as a brand, then that will be a result of our hard work and of our efforts.
You're someone who transcends your brand. You have this long experience in swimming, and it's you think of yourself, you associate with what you do in your life, but there's always that love for this thing. What's the future for you? How do you want to impact the sport? What's your role in swimming beyond A3?
Yeah. I think as a brand, we want to continue to grow on the mission of leadership, innovation, and inspiration. We want that message to continue to come through. So as a brand, that's incredibly important for us. For me personally, I've really enjoyed, probably my favorite thing to do really is talking to teams. When I have an opportunity to be able to stand in front of somebody and talk to them. And I learned a long time ago not to go up there and talk about fabrics and coatings and everything and watching all these kids close their eyes and fall asleep while I'm talking. So I've started to learn a little bit more, and I share stories about our brand, and I share stories about some of our failures. And the reality is nobody's perfect. We're all in a position, and it's funny because what you learn as a swimmer, right? That process of being 12, 14, 16, swimming at your level, that entire process. A lot of times coaches will say, believe in the process, and it's absolutely true. But that process is not a swimming process or an athletic process. It really is a life process. And when you show up every day and you dedicate yourself and you deal with failures and you set goals and either accomplish them or fall short, you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life. So that's incredibly important tools to be able to learn and to be able to use as you move forward. So we definitely want to make sure that we get as many opportunities to do that as we can. Love sharing some of the, we all have failures, but I don't really look at them as failures. I just look at them as learning opportunities. Sometimes they hurt, sometimes they can be painful learning opportunities, but at the same time, they're all chances for us to get better. And if you can recover from some of those failures and improve, you're significantly further ahead. And those are the messages that we try to share, whether it be club, college, high school, it doesn't really matter. It's really all the same. They're in different spots in their life, but it's the same message. So we incur the same challenges as we go. We make mistakes, but at the end of the day, you just continue to work hard, put your head down, and try to deliver the very best that we can, which will ultimately mean that, the brand will go where we want it to go.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.